Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dear students, the topic of our today's discussion is leprosy. In Urdu, this disease is known as Jazam. Leprosy. It is a chronic infectious disease caused by Mycobacterium leprae, which is an acid-fast rod-shaped bacillus. It mainly affects the nerves, peripheral nerves, skin, and mucosa of the respiratory tract. Leprosy has left behind a terrifying image in the history and human memory of mutilation, rejection, and exclusion from the society. Disease leprosy manifests itself in two polar forms, namely the lepromatous leprosy and the tuberculoid leprosy, lying at the two ends of a long spectrum of the disease. Between these two polar types, there occurs the borderline leprosy and indeterminate leprosy form, depending upon the host response to the infection. In 1991, World Health Organization member states they resolved to decrease the level of leprosy in the world by over 90%. And fortunately, the target for the global elimination of leprosy as a public health problem, it has been achieved. The fall in the prevalence rate is largely explained by an improvement in the management of the cases, very low rates of relapse, high cure rates, absence of drug resistance, and shorter duration of treatment with multi-drug treatment. Although a great progress has been made in controlling the disease and reducing the disease burden, however, still more efforts should be done in order to sustain the gains and further reduce the impact of the disease, especially the burden due to the physical, mental, and socio-economic consequences of leprosy on persons affected and their families too. Need to develop more effective tools and procedures for reliable diagnostic tests for early diagnosis and an effective vaccine for the prevention of leprosy and management of leprosy reactions and nerve damage. Programs need to initiate activities to improve the quality of life of persons which are affected by leprosy through prevention of disability and community-based rehabilitation measures. Now we will briefly discuss the epidemiological determinants of leprosy. First of all, we will discuss the agent factors. Mycobacterium leprae is an acid-fast bacillus. It is a gram-positive one. It got bacillus shape, aerobic. Optimum growth occurs at temperature of 30 centigrade. It has affinity for Schwann cells and the cells of reticuloendothelial system. It may remain dormant in various sites and it causes relapse. Mycobacterium leprosy cannot be grown in culture. It is perhaps mainly because of this reason that the progress in research has lagged behind than that of many other diseases because this virus cannot be grown in artificial medium. Source of infection. Multibacillary cases, both the lepromatous and the borderline lepromatous cases, they are the most important source of infection in the community. The inapparent infections, they are also the source of infection. However, the role of individuals with tuberculoid form of the disease as the source of infection is not clear. All patients with active leprosy must be considered infectious. Until recently, man was considered to be the only host and also the source of infection. However, recently, natural infection with Mycobacterium leprae has been shown to be present in wild animals, for example in monkeys and chimpanzees. But it is not yet clear if the leprosy in wild animals is a threat to public health. Then the portal of exit. Nose is a major portal of exit. Lepromatous cases, they harbor millions of Mycobacterium leprae in their nasal mucosa, which are discharged whenever a person sneezes or blows the nose. The bacilli can also exit through ulcerated or broken skin of bacteriologically positive cases of leprosy. Infectivity. Leprosy is a highly infectious disease but of low pathogenicity. An infectious patient can be rendered non-infectious by treatment with Dapsone for about 90 days, that is 3 months, or with treatment with rifampicin for 3 weeks. Local application of rifampicin, either in the form of spray or drops, might destroy all the bacilli within 8 days. Attack rates among household contacts of lepromatous cases are varying proportion, that is varying from 4.4% to 12%. They are expected to show signs of leprosy within 5 years. Now we will discuss the host factors. First of all, we will discuss the age. Leprosy is not particularly a disease of children as once it was believed. Infection can take place at any time depending upon the opportunities for exposure. However, in endemic areas, the disease is acquired commonly during childhood. Incidence rates, they generally rise to a peak between 10 and 20 years of age and then fall. Presence of leprosy in child population is of considerable epidemiological importance. A high prevalence of infection among children means that the disease is active and is spreading in the community. Sex. Both the incidence and prevalence of leprosy is higher in males than in females in most regions of the world. Sex difference is there. Sex difference is found least in children below 15 years and more marked among the adults. The excess of cases in males, it has been attributed to their greater mobility and increased opportunities for contact in many populations. Migration. Leprosy generally was considered to be a rural problem. However, because of migration, because of movement of population from rural to urban areas, leprosy is creating a problem in the urban areas too. Prevalence pool of leprosy in a population in general is in a constant flux resulting from inflow and outflow. The inflow is contributed by the occurrence of new cases, relapse of cured cases, and immigration of cases. The outflow is mainly through cure or inactivation of cases, death of cases, and emigration of cases. Inactivation of disease. Where leprosy treatment facilities exist, inactivation or cure due to specific treatment is an important mode of elimination of the cases from the prevalence pool. Even in the absence of specific treatment, majority of the patients, particularly of the tuberculoid and indeterminate types, they tend to get cured spontaneously. Immunity. Only a few persons exposed to infection, they develop the disease. Subclinical infections, they are far more common than was thought earlier. They are also believed to be the They are also believed to contribute to the active immunity. Self-mediated immunity is responsible for resistance to infection with Mycobacterium leprae. A certain degree of immunity is also probably through infections with other related mycobacteria. Antibodies they have been demonstrated throughout the spectrum of leprosy. They are more pronounced at the lepromatous end. Similarly, an increase of immunoglobulins of IgG and IgM classes is noted towards the lepromatous end. Genetic factors. Evidence shows that the human lymphocyte antigen HLA linked genes they influence the type of immune response that develops. In the epidemiological determinants, now we will discuss the environmental factors. The risk of transmission of leprosy is predominantly controlled by the environmental factors. There is evidence that humidity favors the survival of Mycobacterium leprae in the environment. Mycobacterium leprae can remain viable in the dried nasal secretions for at least 9 days and in the moist soil at room temperature for 46 days. And also, overcrowding and lack of ventilation within the households also favors the spread of leprosy. The mode of transmission of leprosy has not been established with certainty. However, there are few theories which are frequently debated. The mode of transmission is thought to be via droplet infection, via contact transmission, and there may be few other routes. First, we will discuss the droplet infection. Leprosy may be transmitted via aerosols containing the Mycobacterium leprae. Increased emphasis is there on the respiratory tract as the portal of entry. The possibility of this route of transmission is based on the following reasons. That is, inability of the organism to be found on the surface of the skin, demonstration of a large number of organisms in the nasal discharge, high proportion of morphologically intact bacilli in the nasal secretions, evidence that Mycobacterium leprae could survive outside the human host for several hours or days. Now the contact transmission, person to person by close contact between an infectious patient and a healthy but susceptible person. This contact may be direct or indirect, for example, contact with soil and fomites such as contaminated cloths and linen. Other routes may be there. Bacilli may be transmitted by insect vectors or by tattooing needles. Now we will discuss the incubation period of leprosy. Leprosy has a long incubation period, an average of 3 to 5 years or more for lepromatous cases. The tuberculoid leprosy is thought to have a shorter incubation period compared to lepromatous one. Symptoms can take as long as 20 years to appear. Failure to recognize the early symptoms or signs may contribute to an assumed prolonged incubation period in some patients. Some leprologists they prefer the term latent period to incubation period because of the long duration of the incubation period. Knowledge of incubation period of relapses is also essential as this will define the duration of surveillance after the treatment has been stopped. There are different classifications for classifying the leprosy disease. These classifications they are based on clinical, bacteriological, immunological, and histological status of the patients. The following is the Indian classification of leprosy disease. According to this classification, leprosy can be of 5 types. Indeterminate type. In it, early cases with one or two vague hypopigmented macules and definitive sensory impairment. The lesions, they are bacteriologically negative. Tuberculoid type. In it, the cases present with one or two well-defined lesions which may be flat or raised, hypopigmented or erythematous, and are anesthetic. The lesions are bacteriologically negative. Borderline type. In it, the cases present with 4 or 5 more lesions which may be flat or raised, well or ill-defined, hypopigmented or erythematous, and shows sensory impairment or loss. The bacteriological positivity of these lesions is variable. Without treatment, it usually progresses to lepromatous type. Then comes the lepromatous type. In it, the cases present with diffuse infiltration or numerous flat or raised, poorly defined, shiny, smooth, symmetrically distributed lesions. These lesions, they are bacteriologically positive. And last type is pure neuritic type. In it, the cases of leprosy present with nerve involvement, but they don't have any lesions in the skin. These cases, they are bacteriologically negative. There is a clinical classification for the control program of leprosy. This criteria basically differs from program to program, but they are essentially based on the number of lesions, especially the skin lesions, and or on the number of body areas which are affected. It is divided into two main types. Paucibacillary leprosy. In it, there are well-defined skin lesions that are numb, and the skin lesions, they are 1 to 5 in number. Multibacillary leprosy. In it, there is chronically stuffy nose is there. There are many skin lesions and nodules, and the skin lesions, they are more than 5 in number. Now we will discuss the clinical features of leprosy. Leprosy is clinically characterized by one or more of the following cardinal features: hypopigmented patches, partial or total loss of cutaneous sensation in the affected areas. The earliest sensation to be affected is usually the light touch, presence of thickened nerves, and presence of acid-fast bacilli in the skin or the nasal smears. Signs of advanced leprosy disease, they include the presence of nodules or lumps, especially in the skin of the face and ears. Plantar ulcers might be there, loss of fingers or toes, nasal depression, foot drop, claw toes, and there may be other deformities. In this slide, you can see a picture where there is pigmented areas and there is cosmetic disfigurement. That is usually caused by a secondary opportunistic infection. Target tissues in leprosy include skin tissue, peripheral nerves, mucous membranes. Bacteria basically prefers the outer cooler parts of the body. In this slide, on the left hand side, you can see a normal nerve cell, and on the right hand side, you can see a nerve cell enlargement which occurs in leprosy. Following steps and tests can be done for the diagnosis of leprosy. First of all, clinical examination. Leprosy in majority of the instances is diagnosable on the basis of proper clinical examination alone. Then there can be a bacteriological examination from skin smears, nasal smears, or nasal scrapings. Foot pad culture can be done. Histamine test is there for leprosy. Biopsy can be done. Immunological tests, there are of two types. Tests for detecting the cell-mediated immunity. This includes the Lepromin test and LTT test, that is lymphocyte transformation test, and LMIT test, that is leukocyte migration inhibition test. Then there are tests for humoral antibodies, serological tests, which include FLA-AB test, that is fluorescent leprosy antibody absorption test, and monoclonal antibodies test. As told earlier in the last slide, that in majority of the instances, leprosy is diagnosable on the basis of proper clinical examination. This diagram is showing you to find the enlarged and or tender superficial nerves. In leprosy, the nerves they become enlarged and tender. Leprosy control. Following measures are needed to be done for the leprosy control. These measures include medical measures, which include estimation of the problem, early case detection, multi-drug therapy, surveillance, immunoprophylaxis, chemoprophylaxis, deformities, rehabilitation, and health education. And then the social support, program management, and evaluation. Now in the coming slides, we will discuss each of these points in detail. First of all, we will discuss the medical measures in detail. There are three main goals of leprosy control, which are: first, to interrupt the transmission of infection, thereby reducing the incidence of disease so that it no longer constitutes a public health problem; to treat the patients in order to achieve their cure and, where possible, complete rehabilitation; and to prevent the development of associated deformities. Ultimate prevention is achieved by breaking the chain of transmission. In medical measures, first of all, we will discuss the estimation of the problem. The first step is to define the size of the problem or the disease burden in the community by means of epidemiological surveys. Random sample surveys, they are good to collect the baseline data. These surveys, they, no, they don't merely tell the prevalence of leprosy, but also the age and sex distribution of the cases and the various forms of leprosy prevalent in the community. Estimates of the prevalence of leprosy, they are essential for implementing an anti-leprosy program and also for evaluating the results of the program. Early case detection. The aim of early case detection is to identify and to register all the cases of leprosy as soon as possible after they become evident. The choice of case finding methods should be related to the prevalence rate of leprosy in a particular region. These include group surveys, contact surveys, and mass surveys. Now we will discuss the multi-drug therapy. WHO recommendations, they are there for the adult cases of multibacillary leprosy and also for the adult cases of paucibacillary leprosy. For the adult cases of multibacillary leprosy, rifampicin in the dose of 600 mg once monthly given under supervision. Dapsone 100 mg daily is self-administered, and clofazimine 300 mg once monthly supervised and 50 mg daily self-administered. When clofazimine is totally unacceptable owing to the coloration of skin, its replacement by 250 to 375 mg self-administered daily doses of ethanamide or protonamide, they have been suggested. For adult cases of paucibacillary leprosy, rifampicin in a dose of 600 mg once a month under supervision and dapsone 100 mg daily self-administered is recommended. The standard treatment regimen for children aged 10 to 14 years is as follows. For cases of multibacillary leprosy, rifampicin in the dose of 450 mg once monthly given under supervision, Dapsone 50 mg daily self-administered, clofazimine 150 mg once monthly under supervision, and 50 mg every other day self-administered is recommended. For paucibacillary leprosy, rifampicin 450 mg once a month under supervision and Dapsone 50 mg daily self-administered. They are recommended. Children under the age of 10 years, they should receive appropriately reduced doses of the above drugs. Treatment duration varies according to the type of disease. The recommendations for the duration of treatment they are as follows. For multibacillary leprosy, multibacillary blister packs they are taken. At least 12 months of treatment must be taken within a period of 18 months. For paucibacillary leprosy, paucibacillary blister packs they are taken. At least 6 months of treatment must be taken within a period of 9 months. Surveillance. Clinical surveillance of cases after the completion of treatment is essential for the assurance of long-term success of treatment and for the early detection of any relapse. For paucibacillary leprosy, it is recommended that these cases should be examined clinically at least once a year for a minimum of 2 years after the completion of treatment. And for multibacillary leprosy, it is recommended that multibacillary cases be examined clinically at least once a year for a minimum period of 5 years after the completion of therapy. Immunoprophylaxis. Trials in different population groups with BCG vaccination either alone or in combination with other vaccines, they have shown protective efficacy ranging between 28% to 60%. So, high BCG coverage remains an important contribution to reducing the disease burden due to leprosy. The tool of chemoprophylaxis to prevent the occurrence of disease among contacts has not been established. Deformities. Deformities. Numerous deformities they occur during leprosy, especially on face, hands, feet, which are listed in the following table. On face, there is sagging of the face, loss of eyebrows and eyelashes, corneal ulcers and opacities, and perforated nose may be there. In case of deformities of hands, there may be claw hand, wrist drop, ulcers, absorption of degers. Feet, there may be plantar ulcers, foot drop, inversion of the foot, clawing of the toes. In other deformities, there may be gynecomastia and perforation of the palate. The measures to prevent the disabilities include actions which are the following. To take care of the dry, denervated skin of palms and soles, heal the wounds, ulcers and skin cracks in the palms and soles, prevent the injuries to hand and feet by using protective gloves and footwear, prevent the joint stiffness in case of paralytic deformities, protect the eyes, and assess periodically the commonly damaged nerves for the loss of nerve function and its progression using simple tests that can be carried out in the field. Improvement of disabilities is achieved through the use of prostheses and orthopedic devices including corrective splints as well as by corrective surgery. All these measures, however, they require special expertise and facilities. Patients with leprosy need to have a special footwear to prevent the foot ulcers. Rehabilitation. World Health Organization Expert Committee on Leprosy in its second report defined the rehabilitation as the physical and mental restoration as far as possible of all the treated patients to normal activity so that they may be able to resume their place in home, society, and industry. Rehabilitation must begin as soon as the disease is diagnosed. The cheapest rehabilitation is to prevent the physical deformities and social and vocational disruption by early diagnosis and adequate treatment. The measures that are taken in this direction, they are known as preventive rehabilitation. The approach to preventive rehabilitation should therefore begin with preventing rehabilitation. Health education. No anti-leprosy campaign is complete without health education. Patient and his family and the general public should be properly health educated. The patient and his family should be educated about the need for regular treatment, repeated examination of contacts, self-care regarding prevention of disabilities, and protection of the children. General public. The public should be made aware that leprosy is not a hereditary disease. It is a bacterial disease like tuberculosis. It is curable. Not all the leprosy patients they are infectious. Regular and adequate treatment is essential to obtain cure and prevent the disabilities, and that the patients needs sympathy and social support. A nationwide mass education is needed to educate the people on the true facts about leprosy and remove the superstitions and wrong beliefs and the social stigma which are associated with leprosy. Social support. The economic and social problems of the patient and his family should be identified and met. This may include social assistance and social support. This may take various forms of depending upon the local situation. For example, assistance to patient to travel to and from the clinic, helping to the needy families in terms of foods, grains, clothes, care of children and their education and job placement. Program management. Planning and program management they are essential ingredients for leprosy control. It is generally assumed that with existing tools we can achieve rapid control of leprosy provided the operational performance is stepped up to the maximum level required. Among the resources that are needed are adequate infrastructure, trained health personnel, adequate supply of drugs and vehicles, and financial allocation. Evaluation. An important aspect of leprosy control is to assess the impact of the control operations on the endemicity of the disease and to compare the results between different times and places. Indicators are required for such an evaluation. It is important that these indicators can be easily used and satisfy the criteria of repeatability and validity. Ideally, they should be conceived and treated as signals for actions by program managers. This concludes our today's lecture. Thank you very much.